Welcome to another CSEC economics lesson. For this lesson, we are going to focus on the causes, consequences, and solutions for unemployment. Now, there are different types or causes of unemployment. This includes structural, cyclical, frictional, seasonal, and real wage unemployment. Now, with structural unemployment, this happens where the design of the economy changes. So work in certain areas or ventures may extend, while in other areas it may contract. So this is considered as a more prolonged type of unemployment, and it's caused by certain changes in the economy. So with structural unemployment, there may be a number of reasons. For example, workers may lack the job skills that are needed for the jobs that are actually available, or they may be far from the regions where jobs are available and they are not able to move. So this is the example of structural unemployment. So employment opportunities do exist. However, there is a mismatch between what the companies require and what the workers can actually offer. It looks at the skills that they possess versus the skills that are needed for the jobs that are available. So the structural unemployment is exacerbated by extraneous factors such as technology, competition, and government policy. Now, cyclical unemployment is typically caused by recessions. So the economy can move into a recession and it results in a fall in consumer demand. And when there is this fall in consumer demand, businesses are suffering financial losses because their goods or services are not being demanded. And so they will produce less. And in producing less, they'll definitely need less workers. And so they will reduce the number of workers they have, and this is how cyclical unemployment would occur based on the fluctuations in the business cycle. Frictional unemployment is another popular one, where it's basically the time spent in between the last job that someone has and the job that they are looking for. So it's that time you spend searching for a job, hence the term search unemployment. Another type of unemployment is real wage unemployment. Now, this occurs when trade unions bargain for wages that are above the market clearing level or above the market equilibrium. So this could be also caused by government increasing the national minimum wage too high. And so when it's too high, more persons will be willing to work, but firms will not be able to hire as much persons, and so they have to cut staff or cut the number of workers that they have to keep up with the higher wages that they are required to pay. Now, the problem of high wages that's associated with real wage unemployment could also be a solution. The workers or persons who are still employed that have higher incomes, if they demand more goods and services, and this results in businesses, realizing their increased demand, they might hire more persons so that they can meet the extra demand. There's also seasonal unemployment. And with this type of unemployment, it depends on the industry or the nature of the goods or services that are being produced. So, for example, if you look at agriculture, there may be fluctuations in production periods where certain goods are produced in certain seasons. And so when those goods are in season, then it means that more persons are required for employment. And then when it is basically out of season, businesses will need less workers. There are solutions to the different types of unemployment, and one example of a solution is the use of fiscal policy, which can be used to manipulate aggregate demand by varying the government spending and taxation in an economy. So in periods of high unemployment, expansionary fiscal policy can be used, where the government reduces taxation and increases government spending in order to stimulate the economy. What the fiscal policy would do is to result in consumers having access to jobs that weren't existing before, and so they only exist because the government is spending more money in certain areas, so they might spend money to create jobs. Or it could be an increase in their spending where it allows persons to have more disposable income, or a reduction in taxation would also allow consumers to have more disposable income, and so this could drive higher demand for businesses who would respond by producing more goods and services, and in order to do so they'd hire more workers, and in doing so that would lower unemployment. Another solution is the use of expansionary monetary policy, and this is where interest rates could be reduced or the money supply could be increased, and this is possible by using one policy such as, adjusting the reserve requirement. So for instance, if the reserve requirement is lower, then it allows financial institutions to have more loanable funds. And so with this increase in loanable funds, or even if there's a reduction in the interest rates, that would encourage people to borrow money that they can use for investment spending. And this investment spending can help to create jobs in an economy. Another solution to address unemployment is wage subsidies. So wage subsidies can be used to allow employers to have a lower burden as it relates to the cost of production based on what they pay in wages. And so if they have a lesser burden, then they will be able to employ more persons if they are given a subsidy for wages. There are also retraining programs, and this would be especially useful in structural unemployment where there is a mismatch of the skill set needed for the workforce and what they actually possess. Now, if retraining programs are used, then persons can get training to develop the skills that are in demand, and so they can take up the job opportunities that are available. So investment tax credit is also another solution that can be considered. So this is an opportunity that will allow businesses to reduce their tax obligation by investing in physical capital formation such as buildings and fixtures. And of course, when they have this lower burden in the form of taxes and they invest in buildings and fixtures, they will need persons to work in these buildings and to contribute to the production process, and so this will allow for more persons to be hired and the unemployment rate to be lowered. Another very good solution is employment tax credit, and this is where there is a reduction in the tax burden for a firm, and this is specifically as an incentive to increase the number of persons to employ. So the more persons you employ, you are given an incentive that reduces the amount of taxes that you are required to pay. And so businesses might continue on this path to have a lower and lower burden. They will increase their employment numbers, and so this will reduce unemployment. Another solution that can be used to address unemployment is the use of government employment program. That's right. So programs that are just specifically geared towards providing persons who are unemployed with employment opportunities. So the government can make some form of investment in employment programs, and they can also provide training and temporary to permanent jobs for persons who are unemployed. And in some instances, even where the jobs are temporary, what it might do is provide persons with the experience that they need to move on to other jobs which they might not have been qualified for without some level of experience.